Okay, I got Brodie Sutherland here with me today. Brodie is the CEO of Tocvan Ventures. Tocvan is a Mexican gold explorer and developer operating in the world-class mining district of Sonora, Mexico. I've had Brodie on a few times. We've chatted about his Gran Pilar project a couple times, and he's just going to come on here and they're in the middle of a drill campaign, in the middle of some news that continues to develop in terms of their own sort of company catalysts that are evolving, and I thought it would be a good time to get Brodie back in the hot seat, such as it is, and just get his words on some of these topics. So yeah, Brodie, how are you doing? And thanks for joining me here again today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Matthew, and I always appreciate being on. And yeah, we're doing great. Just got back from Mexico, nice 38 degrees Celsius in the winter in the Sonoran Desert. And then you return back home to Calgary where it's minus 20. So if you're wondering why my hair looks like that, it's because of it. But no, things are looking really good. We're happy with where we're at. Been drilling since December, lots of news to come, getting a financing out of the way here and moving forward.
Yeah, no, excellent. We will spend most of our time here chatting drill campaigns and just other company news, right? The pilot project, et cetera, et cetera. I just wanted to, before I got going here, I just in preparation for this, I was reading there's a January 29th MD&A and finances that interim finances that came out, and I just, this is something that I always say about Tocvan, and there's no question here, Brodie, so I guess you can just sit here and, what do they say these days? Here's your flowers. Is that the slang? I don't know, right? But yeah, low burn rate. This is the thing, right? Is that, it's so easy to be patient, and it's so easy to kind of, tolerate the ups and downs of this sector when you got a company that does respect money. And yeah, no, you go check out those financials, very low burn rate. The quarterly spend rate is, yeah, just so hats off to you, et cetera, et cetera. But no, why don't we, let's get going here, right? Just to get the blood flowing a bit, Brodie, just super initial introductory question. Can you just maybe, past, present, future, give us a bit of just a broad umbrella kind of generalization of 2024, where you are now, and then preview 25, and then we'll kind of pick through the details afterwards?
Sure. Yeah. Last year for us was about, trying to understand what's around us. There's been a lot of work completed in what we call our main zone. That's where the bulk of drilling has been completed. Last year, we started stepping out from that and hit into separate holes that were quite significant. They were the best holes ever outside of the main zone. 56 meters of a gram, close to 43 meters of a gram. Each of those, 300 meters apart from each other, and 350 meters away from our main zone. So, that's really encouraging, showing us the upside beyond that main zone. That's kind of leading us into this year where, we've been doing surface work on what we call our expansion area, which we control 100% of. There's two big blocks of land there that's on this map, the southern block and northern one. And what's key there is that, this area around us has never seen systematic exploration. And what we've uncovered over the last year is showing that we think that there's not one, but two separate mineralized systems here. One that is the immediate extension of what we call our main zone that extends to the north and east of that, where we're seeing, a collection of quartz vein structures, breccias, stockworks, same orientation to our main zone, but, extending over 2 kilometers to the east of where we currently are. And this area now has road access. Really what led us there is recent placer mining activity in the dry creek beds, kind of leading us up those valleys and finding, this significant surface mineralization that we're looking to, start to test with drilling over this year. And then, 5 kilometers to the north, we've got an area we call our North Alteration Zone, simply because the volcanic rock there is extremely altered. You can see it, it's visual. Aster data from satellite interpretation is showing that, yes, it looks like it coincides with the type of clay alteration you would see with an epithermal gold-silver system. And we started sampling it and getting good values of gold and silver. what's interesting is that it's a totally different structural orientation. It's more kind of east-west in the north. And, we've sampled just, a minor part of it so far. And so it's early in our understandings of, the potential beyond our main zone, but it's really exciting in terms of where it's at. And, these areas have road access. What we're looking to do this year is start to permit trenching and drill pads across that area and start to test it. And, we've been drilling since December actively. We've got, drill results pending that we expect out very soon. We're just concluding a core drilling program that I think is really going to provide a lot of insight to the deposit itself and how we continue to target as we move things forward. And, the other key thing for this year is looking to go through a test mine scenario where we process material from site because the deposit's right there at surface and the permitting for that is quite streamlined. Then, why not showcase the economic viability of what we have? And, the key thing for us this year is, to kind of conclude the year with a mineral resource estimate that we actually, we're planning to, work in tandem with a PEA. Because I think, the resource itself, the first one is going to be, limited in size because all the drilling has been focused on that main zone. But the key thing is that if you look at the economics of building and operating a mine in Sonora, looking at a PEA, I think is the best way to showcase what the value potentially is. And I think that'll be an exciting thing for us to showcase.
Well, yeah, you're causing me to jump around here a bit, because that's exactly what I did, and just same thing, right? I mean, that people need to understand just how cheap it is to operate, to explore, to mine and produce in Sonora, right? I mean, Minera Alamos at their project just a couple miles from you, the cutoff that they use is 0.15 grams per ton, right? And so, yeah, it does not need much to clear that economic hurdle where you guys are. And I think that's it's a big part of your story. In the meantime, you do seem like you have a lot of potential to exceed 0.15. It's not like you guys are scraping around the bottom. But I guess, I thought maybe a good way to start this would be, and maybe this will frankly be where we spend most of our time, Brodie, is I've got this one too, just so you can see what I've got working with here. But do you just want to, I mean, you had 4 holes, I'm quoting from the NDNA here, 4 holes before Christmas, RC, 776 meters. You had a current core campaign that's free from your JV credits. So that was 9 holes, 1,200 meters, give or take. As of MDNA, it was 6 of 674. Maybe can you just, I mean, where'd those RC holes go? Where'd the core holes go? And then maybe, where are the future, the next 2,000 meters of RC holes planned, if that's too big of a question or not. But yeah, do you want to, and let me know if you need me to flip around visuals, but you just want to kind of walk us through where they're going and what they're doing?
Yeah, maybe go to the next visual, Matt, and I can, so the RC holes, the 4 that we completed before the holiday break, they're right on the northern extension of right there. Basically where you're showing with the mouse. So, really that's the first round of drilling that's into what we call our expansion area, this area that we consolidated around us. And, it's the first kind of foray to see, all right, do things extend in that direction? And, I think it'd be really exciting to see what we get for results there if we're successful in identifying continued mineralization there. I think that'll be a significant move forward for us because there's a lot of room to continue in that direction. Additional RC drilling, which we're actually looking to get back to here shortly, is going to focus on that kind of northern boundary, extending from there off to the east, and just kind of tighten there and then head back towards the east. So really, again, it's about continuing to expand and step off in that direction and test new things with the RC. The core drilling, there was 2 kind of key things there. One, there hasn't been a lot of core drill in the past at Pilar, and in order to build, a proper resource estimate, you need to be able to bound things by the geology. So we went back through some sections of our main zone where, we had some gaps as well, where it help us with resource definition and, really start to understand the rock in a better way. And so we went back through the main zone with several of the holes, and then starting to step to the east where we had success over the last year, understanding, what do we see there? Is it the same or different to what we see in our main zone? If it's different, what's driving that mineralization? How do we target it? And, so all of it's going to be extremely important as we move towards resource estimation. I just got back from site and reviewed the core that we had, and, it's interesting. It's a very, I hesitate to say unique. It's just a very interesting deposit in that it's seen multiple phases of brecciation. You have these stockworks that are later. You've got, more kind of traditional veins, although they're not as common. And you just get the sense that the rock is seeing this kind of multi-phase prep. And that prep is kind of made it a very good host rock for mineralization. And it's really impressive to look at. At surface, it's very fractured, so you don't always get the best look until you get a bit deeper down. But, it's a very interesting system. And I think, the more we uncover here, and our team has made some big strides forward, I think, this year with this program. So, now we can apply that to this expansive area around us that has never seen drilling and start to really, target things beyond that. So, it's an exciting time for us. And I think it's going to be an interesting year because, we've got a lot of drilling that we have planned to continue, with the test mine. You mentioned, some of the local operators, cutoffs around 0.15. I mean, that was cutoffs at 0.15 when gold was $1,900 an ounce. It's like things are getting redefined constantly in terms of what you can make economic here. And I mean, that's the advantage of this jurisdiction, is that it's probably one of the lowest costs in the world. And we want to take full advantage of that.
Yeah. It's you can't decide where gold is, but you can sure decide where you look for it, right? And I think that is part of any smart campaign at early stage is picking the right spot in terms of, infrastructure, district, jurisdiction. Let's circle back to core. And so I guess there's a couple things here. I mean, maybe you've got a hot, fresh news release out that's got some pictures of the core, and maybe I'll ask you kind of a twofold thing is. Maybe first of all, I'll ask them just one at a time, maybe rather than making you try to juggle two at once. But when you're drilling out diamond core, most of the major meterage at Tocvan has been RC. I think that's a smart choice for a variety of reasons. We can skip past for now, but you still need diamond core, right? It's still for resource estimation, getting that subsurface knowledge that you need to make it 43101 compliant. Is it fair to call these, are you drilling for structure only? I mean, are these kind of like a geotechnical hole, or is there still something that we can anticipate, grade or length or meaningful mineralization from as well?
Yeah, I think the simple answer is, we expect meaningful mineralization through some of the sections that we've drilled. That's, and that's just the reality of that. But, the core is, I mean, it's such an important piece to us, and, we treat it, kind of as, it's sacred to us, and that we're getting all the information we can out of it, vital in terms of understanding it and towards development. But, as a geologist, it's also looking at the rock. When you look at RC chips of a brecciated, fractured system, I mean, everything looks the same. So, and the reality is when you look at the core and, the photos, I mean, really the reason I wanted to include the photos is just to showcase just how different, we see the rock, throughout the system. And because it is quite complex, I mean, there's multiple phases. It's all that is very apparent when you look at the core. And that's a great thing. You want that. Like a robust system is going to have multiple pulses, multiple phases to it. So, I think it's just an incredible one to look at, and then really just understand it and start to piece it together on, what do we see at surface? how do we translate that now to this big expansion area that we're starting to target on, and what should we be looking for? And, I think that's all going to provide key information. So, I think obviously it's important for the resource estimate and building that out. But we place these holes in locations where, there were gaps in our information. So, if it hits, it's going to add to the resource and in our understanding of it. So, we're excited to get those results back. And now I'm the first to say that I'm always hesitant to kind of showcase core in a release prior to getting the results. But in this case, I felt like it was important just to understand like what we're seeing and why we're excited. This is a technical success in that we've identified, these key structures, and we're building out a better understanding of it.
Yeah, you and I were chatting, off camera about this very topic, right? About how to release core photos prior to assays. That's kind of a classic question, right? In terms of you don't want to hype, you don't want to create unrealistic expectations. Assays tell the truth. Seeing core is meaningful, right? In terms of that ability to confirm visually what's occurring, right? So no, I think at least for me, you get a pass for the core photos before assays, for whatever that's worth, right? But are you complete the core campaign is done now or no?
Yeah, we've completed. They just concluded the last hole. We got 10 holes completed. I think looks like we're over 1,100 meters in total. First few holes are at the lab, so that's all in queue.
Without, as you can, based on what you have, though, I mean, what have you learned from it, right? I mean, what has been confirmed about your understanding of the geological model? What's been different? Positive surprises? Any sort of just kind of color or context you can provide there?
Yeah, I think the one in my mind, the big stride that we've made is that this is indicated at depth. Where to the east, we've had these holes. Last year we hit, the 56 meters of a gram, 42 meters of a gram. That, to be honest, they had kind of surprised us. We drilled those holes and we're like, okay, I didn't really expect that, kind of width of anomalous mineralization with higher grade stuff within it. And because when you're at surface in those locations, this is just, a few hundred meters east of our main zone. The rock looks like barren andesite, to be honest. So, it was kind of really what this has started to build out is that, we have what we call our main zone lithology, which through the heart of our main zone is, it's over 60 meters wide. As it extends to the north, it actually gets wider. It's over 130 meters wide. And, anything within that package where this host andesite has just been, again, multiple phases of brecciation, stock work, it's been beat up, this rock. It's anything within that, you've got a chance of hitting very, very strong mineralization. As you move to the east and go into this, what looks like a more kind of barren andesite, it seems to be more structurally controlled. Based on what we can see, this is, just immediately to the east of us. As you continue further out, where you got the mouse right now, like that, we're still early in our understandings on how does that compare. But, really it looks like there's high grade mineralization along fault structures as you move to the east, but there's certain, the tendencies within this host rock that it opens up and you get these broader intercepts within it. So really it's gotten our eye into what to look for to find more tight mineralization like our main zone across the broader area. And I think we've actually identified one potential spot just by quick reconnaissance, which is in our latest update. And the placer mining, which you might be able to see there, that band there, basically right adjacent to that, we had done a soil grid. And I think it's on one of the callouts on the top image there, but it's 21 grams gold, over 2,000 grams silver. There's a bunch of copper, lead, and zinc in there. Really a surprising sample to get back. And it looks like, we went and followed up on it. It's next to an old working that, has since been kind of grown over with vegetation and concealed. And so, we see something there, but we're driving to that location and got out of the truck actually a bit too early. And we just walked up the ridge to the south of those placer workings. And we're seeing, silicified breccias that are oxidized that look very similar to what you would see at surface at our main zone. And that coincides actually with a soil anomaly that we see right next to that. That's sizable. We're seeing, really good values in the soil. So, this is how early we are in terms of understanding this expansion area and how exciting it is. It's all new exploration. Every time we set foot on the ground, we're finding more that's telling us, okay, this isn't just a one-off over here at their main zone. There's much more going on. So it's about applying all that knowledge from the core program, building out our broader geological model and then applying that across this big area that we now control. It's exciting.
If you're able to have a working, effective, proven, reliable, geological model, and then, as you say, step out and start proving it up elsewhere, right? That's you get that launch pad sort of effect, right? Where you have a company that's, 20, 30, 40, $50 million market cap, then because they have one of these items, right? And then, if you can start to demonstrate 2, 3, 4, 5, that's when things start to get exciting from an investor's perspective, right? So that sort of that timing of this, the life cycle of Tocvan, I think it is a good time right now for people, right? Maybe let's just, so you got 4 holes in the bag. You discussed RC, the core is down here in the main zone as well. And I know you already said this, but maybe, sorry, I'll ask you to clarify for me. So now you still have 2,000 meters of RC left. Well, is that still in the southern portion? You said you'll be stepping out to the east a bit. Is the north alteration zone being hit at all, or is this all closer to home kind of in this subsection?
We're staying close to home to start, but there's definitely a very compelling target in the north alteration zone that there's 2 that we have sampled, but that we'll see. Maybe later in the year, like in the fall, maybe we start to test those, but I do want to kind of stay close to home on the first kind of broader foray into this expansion area into the south block, because obviously, as we build out resource potential, we want to keep it as close to existing mineralization as we can, and see how it connects, if it does at all, and go from there. We also have, the key thing on this image is that there's actually another 1.5 kilometers to the east of where the red dots end that we haven't sampled yet. And that whole area we haven't placed a sample, but the placer development has worked up that valley. So that's obviously there's lots of open ground there that we don't have any information for yet. So there's lots that we want to do here, and I think that's probably where we'll spend a lot of our time, but we'll do a bit of work in the north just to start to advance that and see, because what's interesting about the north is that, down in the south, we don't see the clay alteration, and it's telling us, based on what we see in the geochemistry, that we're kind of, in the middle section of an epithermal system. And as you move to the north, we're seeing the clay alteration. We're seeing elevated silver primarily, but also the pathfinders that you typically see with an antimony, arsenic, not huge levels of each of those, but elevations in them that are telling us that, this looks to be higher up in an epithermal, which is great for drill targeting. That means, with depth, there's a significant chance that you can see continuation of that. So, we want to continue to move that forward and start testing it in a more robust way. But there's so much in the south that it's going to take up a lot of our bandwidth early on in this year, and then see where we go from there.
Well, having too many targets is a good problem to have, right? So we'll call that resource estimate. I guess we'll switch gears here, right? We kind of got the drill campaign kind of halfway cased. Resource estimate due out in 2025 is my understanding here. I've highlighted, this is just from the slide deck, so there's nothing too crazy here in terms of some secret information that I'm bestowing upon you. But I've highlighted here, their target resource. This is a classic thing on the ASX. They like to give kind of exploration targets, and I almost like core photos. I think they're useful. You just have to be very careful with how you utilize them, right? But I think it's important for people to recognize. And so here you have it, the main zone, right? 300 to 500. You people can read the rest. I guess the question is, I mean, maybe we'll again start easy and maybe ease into it a bit here. But when might we expect it? And then also, is this the last drill? Is this the last drill campaign that will go into it, or are there more campaigns yet to come before the resource estimate?
Yeah, we've always had a bit of an open mind with it because, I mean, the reality is this last RC drilling, that we're waiting for results on. If it's successful, it's telling us it continues. And, do we want to stop and do a resource estimate when we know, okay, this thing is actually keeps marching to the north and, potentially to the east on some of these parallel trends? So we've kind of kept an open mind with it. It's, so, I mean, it really depends on the next rounds of drilling and how successful they are. But I think, right now we're kind of targeting for the latter half of this year, and we're working with resource estimator for over a year, just kind of getting everything lined up and build our understanding of it. So, we get this information, I'll get inputted quickly into that. And then, we'll make a call if we feel like there's more drilling that needs to be done to kind of define the outer extents of it, or are we happy and, start with that. I mean, the key message is that it's going to be the initial resource estimate, and it's been focused on, one part of the project that's now controlled. So, it'll grow with time. But the other thing is that, it's not going to be a showstopper in terms of size. But again, that's not what we're looking to do. We're looking to show that this is mineable, economic mineralization at surface in a low-cost jurisdiction. And that's why, we feel that it's important to back that with a PEA, shortly thereafter. So, we do that. And I think it's just going to further justify, why we're operating in this area. And, because we look at other operators, other companies that are, going down similar paths, and it's really interesting because all the reporting, the PEAs have been done when gold was 1900, and now you look at it and try to understand the economics. It becomes very obvious, I think. So, those are going to be important catalysts for us. Our viewpoint is that it's going to be modest to start, but look at what we have that's been untapped and what we can add to it over time. And that's part of our model, right? We're coming into our 5th year existing as a company. We've got 57 million shares issued. We've kept that very tight because it's all about this model of continue to de-risk, get it permitted for production, and then we don't need to dilute our shareholders into oblivion with the mindset of, no, we need ounces first. We don't need ounces first. We need to show the economic viability of what we have and the upside of what's around us. And then you can continue to feed and build that resource over time in a non-dilutive way. So that's really our focus. And I think it'd be exciting to showcase that over the next year.
No, I of course bias here because this is my job. I'm working with Brodie, but I think that your vision makes sense, right? That classic conundrum of when do you release your initial resource estimate? When do you do your PA? That timing aspect, because people fear it caps out people's idea of what the potential is of a project. Yeah, so that your ability to demonstrate through a resource estimate and a PEA the numbers that you're working with, I think that allows a lot. Yeah, it legitimizes your vision in a way I think is probably important for a company trying to do what you're doing, which is kind of buck the trend a bit and actually be a viable company as viable operator, right? Not just an exploreco, right? So no, I think there's absolutely value to that. Maybe, people can see the numbers for themselves in terms of initial target and potential thereafter, but Maybe the question I'll ask around just future growth is what's the spacing you need to get to inferred, right? So we assume that, you know, that main zone is baked into the pie at this point. We know what it is. It's a known commodity, you know, for a variety of reasons. You know, if we wanted to start seeing the resource expand, yeah, you know, how many drill holes will it take to get inferred going in terms of spacing?
Yeah. You know, if you're looking at 80 to 100 meter spacing on, you know, centers on that drilling, that should get you comfortably to inferred. You want to go measured and indicated, you know, probably tightening that up to, in some cases, you know, 20 meters. I think that's going to be required, especially where we see higher grade mineralization, because there's going to be more variability there. Again, our model is, there's been now 27,000 meters of drilling done, you know, across our main zone and the area immediately adjacent to it. That's a great starting point. And now we want to start drill test these other targets. And if we're successful in doing that, you know, stepping out 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, 5 kilometers from our main zone and hitting, that's great. And really we'll make the decision on how we want to advance that after making those discoveries, in terms of managing dilution. But once we've made the discoveries, it's going to be, okay, again, go back to the model, getting this thing across the line on the production side so that then you can unlock that potential. And there's always the opportunity of a partner coming in, because we are in a jurisdiction with a lot of majors around us, that, you know, there's that potential. It's got to be the right setup for our shareholders, I think, for us to want to do that. So we'll see how that progresses. And, you know, we know that if we can show that, hey, we've got, you know, near-term potential for, let's say, 500,000 ounce oxide and all these other targets that, you know, we're starting to test and we're hitting on with multi-million ounce potential, we know it's going to be something that's very attractive to the majors around us. And our biggest thing is understanding the best we can what we feel that potential is, so that we can set in our minds, you know, what if there was an acquisition on the horizon, you know, what our number is in terms of value. Because again, you're in a jurisdiction where, you know, 15 to 20 million US, you can build a mine that will generate very good capital for you. And I mean, that in itself is just like, you know, it's it puts us in a good position, because it means the majors will be, you know, they'll continue to sniff around and ask us, you know, where we want to take things. But I think it's pretty obvious to them that a company of our size can take it in that direction and make money and be successful with it. And that gives us an advantage and an edge on them. And, you know, 2 years from now, it'll be really interesting to see where we're at with gold and everything else. Yeah, I think there'll be potential for a takeout scenario. But again, it's got to be attractive. Otherwise, you know, I've got a lot of mouths to feed at home, so make money, right?
That's very true. Yeah. Yeah, both those comments are true. I don't know if I get to. You can tell me if I have to edit this out. But Brodie's got triplets. I mean, we've talked about it a few times. We had kids like 2 days apart or something, right? So I guess we're space twins now. But you've got triplets now, so I'll good luck to you anyway. So but let's just get back on the actual topic here. Pilot facility, pardon me. Actually, you know what? I'll skip that for a second here, because you did kind of mention, you know, majors and that the looming happy threat of a buyout. Obviously, there was a site visit, that a fairly extensive kind of visit conducted by an unnamed major. I think they remain unnamed, in the second half of 24 there. I mean, you know, things happen. You know, it takes these. I mean, majors work in months and years, and, you know, retail investors expect hours and days sometimes. But any sort of update you can provide or information you can provide on that topic, just where that's at or what happened or anything?
Yeah, I mean, the dialogue's ongoing. You know, our standpoint today is that, especially the latest, you know, since that time, we've got more surface results. You know, what we've just found recently, in addition to that, you know, it's early in our understanding of what's there. And our viewpoint is that if we were to partner up with someone now, it's where the project's at, it's really going to devalue our position and the upside for our shareholders there. So, we want to better understand what we have, but continue those conversations because they do work on different timelines than we do. We live and die by your kind of latest news and how you're progressing as a company. They can outweigh a lot of the juniors. So, I think it's the dialogue's there. We'll continue to have that. Let's continue to understand what we have and go to the table coming from a position of strength. That's really what we're looking at.
Not to be too cutesy, but fair to maybe summarize it. You're betting on yourself a bit here as a company.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've got a great team. I don't want to get too confident, but we've been very successful with drilling, and I think that'll continue. I think, based on what we're seeing, I think we'll see a continuation of that. So we're definitely betting on ourselves here.
Excellent. No, that's got to be. I'd rather invest in someone who's confident than not.
Sure.
Final question here. I'll let you get a last stab in case I missed something you wanted to touch on. But yeah, pilot facility, right? Again, kind of this. What sets Tocvan apart in my mind is there's a legitimate approach to production, and 50,000 ton pilot kind of proof of concept thing is in the works. MD&A says you're hoping to get permitting done by end of Q1. So you're kind of in one of these moments as a company where there's lots happening, but not necessarily things that make it into news releases all the time, right? Can you maybe just give an update? Give an update on that project. Are long lead items being ordered, permits, that kind of thing? What the state is at there?
Yeah, well, first I'll just step back and look at the mentality of it. Really, what we want to do with the pilot is showcase the economic viability of the project and the fact that we have something that's exposed at surface over an extensive strike length that allows us to get access to material to do that, for one. Two, the pilot itself and how we permit it is grouped in with exploration. So we can go through that phase on a relatively quick timeline for permitting. Our biggest thing was we want to group that with all the permitting for trenching, drilling across the expansion area that we can foresee, in the near term, and package that all together and submit that at one time. And so, that's why, we're looking to get that submitted here later this month, start that process. We expect a very quick turnaround on it, and then we'll have that in hand. And, from there, it's going to be, just kind of feeling out how we move forward with it. But we've got a 7-month timeline once we initiate everything to go through the extraction side, go through, stacking, crushing, putting out a heap leach pad, building up, the infrastructure that we need for all of that, going through the leaching process, running constant analytics on it, and getting all that information to do, eventually a pour of doré. And we did this on a smaller scale in 2023 offsite. So we transported material from Pilar offsite, poured 2 kilos of doré from that. And that whole process was a huge learning experience for a team in terms of going through everything. But, now we're very comfortable on, what needs to happen, what we need to do to go through those steps. And, it's really about building out a more robust understanding of what this thing's going to look like. I also think it's the only way you're going to know, true grade when you mine our main zone, because we do have this very high grade mineralization that we see throughout the system with adjacent low grade. And, when you drill it or when you channel sample it at surface, you see that variance. But when we did the bulk sample in 2023, it averaged 1.9 gram per ton gold. So it's kind of seeing what we get out of that in terms of head grade and then kind of continue that process. It's also at a scale where it generates cash, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of of the mind actually to do it in a way where we can hold on to that doré and store it, because I feel like it's going to have more value for us in that form than selling it So, I mean, we're basically just getting everything aligned so that we can comfortably go through that process. Once we have that infrastructure, what makes it really interesting is that we can then start to test different things. And, in the past, we've done the traditional, heap leach with the material, got good recovery, kind of standard recoveries for Sonora. But we have also done, gravity on a finer crush, gravity and agitated leach and showing really, incredible recovery with that, over 95%. So there's other things that we want to test with that as we grow and expand that knowledge base. And, it's only going to help us, optimize what the future mine at Gran Pilar looks like. So, it's an exciting thing. I think it differentiates us as well from a pure explorer and shows how serious we are about advancing it through to production.
Brodie, last call to you, right? I mean, yeah, thanks for your time here, right? I mean, it's good catching up with you. I still think the Tocvan has a pretty solid future in terms of kind of that valuation re-rating we're all looking for as investors. But what have I missed that you maybe want to let people know about Tocvan presently?
Yeah, we're a very disciplined company. We're expecting a lot of news this year, a lot of catalysts that drive things. We've got a tight float, and I think keep an eye on it. If we're delivering with results, I think this could be an interesting year, and you can kind of, maybe we'll be the example of, if you keep your share structure tight, how you can kind of succeed in a good market. So we know it's been a difficult, few years for the resource base, especially on the gold side. But I think there's a lot of good ahead. And so, I think just keep an eye on us, and we're looking to perform.